Hello and welcome to your Digi Daddy. We're going over the BT12 Hunters deck today. I'm not going to be going over the archetype exactly. I'm mainly just going to be showing you how a good start for the deck and a good place that you can start. Of course, we are new into this set, and so we don't know. We know essentially how it plays because of the Japanese format, but as we do here in America, we always find ways to do things differently. And the thing with this Hunters deck specifically is it gives you a lot of opportunities to mix and match. There are essentially two different types you can play, but the one I'm going to be showing you today is going to be a much more popular version. And so yeah, let's just jump right into it. But before that, actually, I want to tell you that this deck right here is one of the most popular and powerful of this set, and going beyond this set, because there's so much flexibility with it. It's similar to Crossheart, where you're playing a lot of tamers and you're using those tamers to essentially get the effects off of it. But the main thing that this deck is good at is the consistency. Because each card within it helps the deck achieve what it wants to achieve, which is essentially just putting out bigger guys, crossing them, and placing Digivolution cards under those, using those inheritables from the Digivolution cards to gain more effects and get more stuff going. And because there's so much support for this deck within this set, this whole deck has been given to us within this set, and so it gives you lots of opportunities to play around with it and test things out. I think a lot of people got really interested in, and it got really popular with the Mervamon, the Mervamon Crossheart. And that's one of the most popular versions of Crossheart as opposed to Cross 7, because you can just do some really interesting plays. And so I think that a lot of people are going to take this deck specifically and make a lot of changes to it to give it a whole new way of being played. But this is just the basic layout, a good starting point for you. I am not the best at deck building, especially with newer decks, when I don't fully understand the archetype. And so I would say definitely look into it, find what works for you, and just do a lot of testing. It's one of my favorite things about Digimon in general is just how fun it is to test around with the decks itself. So let's just get right into it. With 4 eggs, we're starting with Monimon. You don't need more than 4 because the deck is so fast. Either you're going to win fast or you're going to lose fast with this deck. And that's the thing about it, is you are running a lot of lower DP and lower level guys. You actually don't run any level 6s, at least in this version, just because you don't really need them. The deck is so fast when you get all your pieces, and it's so consistent within itself that you're probably going to get all your pieces. And so then we're going into the Dracmon, 3 copies of that. We are going into 4 copies of Gumdramon. Then we're going into 4 copies of Psychmon, 4 copies of Diamond, 2 copies of the yellow pencil guy. Don't know his name, but it definitely ends with a Mon. We're going into 2 copies of Tuarmon, 4 copies of Arrestermon, 2 copies of the BT12 Shoutmon, 2 copies of the BT12 Shoutmon King version, 4 copies of Clockmon, 4 copies of Arresterdramon Superior Mode, 2 copies of Omni Shoutmon, 2 copies of Quartzmon, 2 copies of the new Yu Amano, 4 copies of Taiki, 3 copies of Tigeru, I think is his name, and then 2 copies of the old clockmaker, watchmaker, whatever his name is. But there is an option card that you can run, which is the Overflowing Power, that allows you to digivolve into a Digimon that is underneath a tamer, and it costs 0, so honestly that's a pretty good tech. The deck is kind of tight just because you do want the consistency of each card so that you can put them under your Arresterdramon, your Arresterdramon Superior Modes, your Quartzmon, but really option cards are really up to the pilot of the deck. This deck does, like I said, such a good job of being consistent within itself that you really don't need to worry too much about spicy techs. But like I said, I'm sure a lot of people are going to come with something really interesting. So let me know your opinions, your suggestions. One thing that I do want to mention is that this deck will be pretty budget friendly. Most of these cards are just commons, uncommons. There's a few rares, of course, I think with the tamers, and then there is an SR with a Digimon, Superior Mode, and Quartzmon. But they will not be very expensive. Even now, they're not too bad in the pre-sale period. But if you're looking for a cheap, very powerful deck, not just for BT12, but all the way up into BT13 and beyond possibly, this is definitely the place to look. So if you're interested in that, I would definitely suggest this deck. You're going to be seeing it everywhere, so even if you aren't going to pilot it like in any tournaments or locals, I would say build it and just understand it so you know how to counter it. Thank you so much for watching. You have been great today. I'll see you next time.